Szanowni Państwo, w imieniu Państwowej Komisji Wyborczej witam Państwa bardzo serdecznie na poniedziałkowej porannej konferencji PKW. W konferencji wezmą udział zastępca przewodniczącego...
The conference will be participated by the Deputy Head of the National Electoral Commission, Judge Marciniak, members of the Commission, Judge Strzelczyk, Judge Mładanowicz, and Secretary of the National Electoral Commission, at the same time Head of the National Electoral Office, Ms. Pietrzak. Over to you, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Due to very efficient transfer of information from polling stations, we decided to accelerate and to prepone the press conferences. The first press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. Let me, however, point out that the procedure for award of mandates to the European Parliament is complicated. That's why the announcement of partial unofficial results shall be taken with the caveat that in the European elections it is very important to determine which electoral committees cross the so-called electoral threshold. Then the allocation of mandates takes place per each committee, per each list, and finally we are able to determine which candidates receive the seat in the European Parliament. As we stated on the 27th of May 2019, we have received partial unofficial results from polling stations. When it comes to the final division of mandates, district electoral commissions, the 13 commissions play a more vital role. Let me now present to you the results. The National Electoral Commission, based on information concerning the results of the voting from 26,166 polling stations out of the total number of 27,285 polling stations, i.e. from 95.9% of all the polling stations, which means that we are still missing 1,119 protocols, which is short of 4%. The Commission presents unofficial results of the voting. Number one, the total number of people eligible to vote was 28,507,517. The number of people who participated in the voting was 12,947,576. The turnout was 45.42%. The total number of valid votes cast on all lists of candidates was 12,840,612. The difference between the number of people who participated in the voting and the number of valid votes is around 100,000 votes. In total, the following results were achieved, and I will be presenting them in the order of the electoral committees. Number one, the Electoral Committee of the Confederation Korwin-Braun-Leroy, the Nationals, 584,316 votes, which is 4.55%. List number two, Electoral Committee Wiosna, Spring by Robert Biedroń, 772,394, which is 6.02%. Number three, Electoral Committee European Coalition, Civic Platform, Alliance of the Democratic Left and the Greens, Polish People's Party, 4,863,368 votes, which is 37.87%. Number four, Electoral Committee Law and Justice, 5,907,829 valid votes, which is 46.01%. Number 5, Electoral Committee of the Left Together. The Together Party, Labour Union, RSS, 158,376 votes, which is 1.23%. Number 5, Electoral Committee of Electors, Kukiz 15, 476,574, which is 3.71%. List number 7, Electoral Committee of the Electors, Poland, Fair Play, Party Les Gwiazdowski, 67,865 votes, which is 0.53%. Number 9, Coalition Committee, Exit Coalition, 7,719 votes, which is 0.06%. And finally, number 10, Unity of the Nation Electoral Committee, 2,171 votes, which is 0.02%. Ladies and gentlemen, we still miss around 4% of polling stations, but because of the complex nature of the final calculation of the mandates, right now it's still too early. We still don't have enough data to determine which committees and who gets the mandate to be part of the European Parliament. We have to receive protocols from all district electoral commissions, the 13 commissions, to be able to proceed to the division of mandates to individual electoral committees.
Bardzo proszę, pytanie.
Do we have any questions? Good morning, Łukasz Kolarski, Radio Z. I would like to ask a question about Gdańsk. We see that only 79% of all the votes were counted. What does it result from? Well, in bigger cities, it always lasts longer. We simply have a greater number of voters in the polling stations. The committees have more to do. This is a standard. In larger cities, we have simply greater number of voters. But it's only Gdańsk that is so low. Well, in fact, these are singular cases. If a big city doesn't have the final data yet, it also has a bearing on the whole district. We don't have any information about any incidents, any barriers to effective work. As you can see, we had to prepone the conference. No risk, no worries. Another question? RMF Mariusz Piekarski. The missing 4%, where do you still miss the protocols from? Could you specify which polling stations these are and where, apart from Gdańsk, are you missing information? Well, the missing number is 1,119 protocols from polling stations. And generally speaking, the distribution is pretty even all over the country. It's hard to determine one region. We still haven't had any protocol from the District Electoral Commission that would allow us to say that one of the 13 District Electoral Commissions has the final results. 1,119, that's the number. If you looked at the map of Poland, this number is distributed practically evenly over the municipalities, communes and districts. Of course, I would like to thank all members of the commissions in the polling stations. They have been working very efficiently and the transfer of information was really very efficient. Still, we have to wait until we have the aggregate data from the district electoral commissions. Kamil Kurbatov, TVP Info. How much time will pass until you announce the final results, until we know the candidates who qualified, who got the mandate to be part of the European Parliament? How long can it last and what's the procedure, on the assumption that you receive all the protocols? Well, if we assume that we have all the protocols, this is indeed an issue of a mathematical calculation. The main problem is that it's enough that we don't have information from one electoral commission and we will be waiting for their results to make the final calculation. Right now, if we miss information from one polling station, that means that we miss information from one district electoral commission. I hope that this will happen quickly. We haven't expected that we will get the results from individual polling stations so quickly. I announced yesterday that the first conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. However, because of the fact that we are getting the information at a very effective and efficient pace, we decided to prepone the conference and hold it at 7 a.m. Are there any further questions? Radio Z again. So let me ask about what was the decisive factor? Why was it so effective and so quick? In the past it was rather bad. Well, bad is a very negative word. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, the European elections are not too complicated. It's really easy to do the calculations in presidential elections. The most complex ones are the local government elections. We have 4 ballot papers and many more candidates to choose from. On top of that, we had in the past 2 commissions, but here I must admit that the work in the polling stations, in the commissions, after the recent amendments, when we have one commission only, resulted in the fact that we were able to save 1 or 2 hours. Madam Minister says she disagrees, but, well, I'm sure there are certain reasons that make the work more effective and efficient. I would also like to point out to the fact that we have more appropriate people in the commissions. We have increased the remuneration for members of the commission. I'm sure analysis will be carried out after the elections. Are there any further questions? RMF-FM? Again, a question from me. We are working so quickly. When will we get the results then? I hope that this will happen as soon as possible. Is it an issue of hours? Yes, hours for certain. Unless there is one commission that will be our break and will not forward the results. But let me emphasize, we are missing the results from 1,119 commissions, 4% of the total number of protocols, bearing in mind the fact that 10 hours passed since we closed the polling stations. I can't recall the situations in which we would have that many protocols here after such a short period of time, which would allow us to present so much information. Well, the most important thing for us are the results from commissions in polling stations. If the protocols are correct and if the district electoral commissions approve of them and prepare on their basis their protocols, then the process is pretty quick. At the level of district electoral commissions, we have judges, professionals, and we foresee no difficulties on this level. That's why this should go pretty quickly. Let me return to my first question. Where do these differences come from? I'm looking at your website and I can see that Subcarpathian, for instance, right now has 100% of polling stations, and the Pomeranian region, Warsaw, only 80. So it's not an even distribution, is it? True, that's true. The Subcarpathian region was really quickly. But as my fourth speaker said, even if we have one protocol from one commission missing, we can't go any further. I'm sure the Subcarpathian region will be the first one, definitely, to present the complete results. Perhaps we even have them right now when we are talking to you. It's possible that all the commissions in the polling stations have forwarded their protocols, and Warsaw is taking the longest, as usual. Well, we can assume so. but it's also about larger cities. Furthermore, as regards to Warsaw, the constituency number 4, it also encompasses polling stations abroad. Over 200 such polling stations are included in it. And let's not forget that the National Electoral Commission determines the results based on protocols from the district electoral commissions. In other words, we get the information about the protocols from polling stations, which are then verified by the territorial and district electoral commissions. And of course, errors may be spotted there. There may be some irregularities. We present our results based on the information from district electoral commissions, so certain path is necessary. Are there any further questions? Well, if there are no questions, I'd like to thank you very much for your participation, and we will be informing you about the next press conferences scheduled for today. Thank you very much indeed.